Hit it, Phil.
Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze. It's Jackson time. La, da, da, da.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. We have our whole cast here, which is fantastic for our Thanksgiving episode. So this is the closest thing we can find to a Thanksgiving episode. I hope you're all going to enjoy it. After the show, we'll be back on to talk about it.
From Hollywood, the Jack Benny Program.
Hello, Mr. Benny. This is Rochester. What do you want? Oh, nothing. I just thought I'd call you until I just finished 18 holes of golf.
You did, did you?
Did you wash the living room windows?
Yes, I washed them.
Did you put out the garbage?
It's out.
What time will dinner be ready?
7 o'clock, and this is the last time I'll play gin rummy with you. Now, Rochester, I want to ask you something. Why is it every time we play cards, you insist on wearing that Chinese kimono?
For 3 reasons. It's becoming, it's comfortable, and with those big sleeves, I can't lose.
Oh, so that's it. That's how you beat me. With those big sleeves.
Don't get mad, boys. I was just playing a little joke on you.
Well, Rochester, I'm going to tell you what. The next time we play cards, believe me, I got to hang up. There's someone at the door. Guy.
Oh, excuse me, madam. I thought that...
Don, it's me.
Jack, why are you doing the housework?
Look, Don, I don't want to discuss it. Now, if you want to sit down here and be quiet, sit down. And
But,
that's all.
Jack, a big star like you, down on your hands and knees doing your housework, but this
It's
is...
none of your business.
But, Jack...
Now, and get off of my nice, clean floor.
I sure don't know what this is all about, but it's obvious you've been working too hard.
Yeah.
Look, Jack, come over here and sit down. Take it easy. Relax. Come on now. How about a game of gin rummy?
Gin rummy?
Yeah, come on, Jack. Where are the cards?
All right, Don. I'll play you some gin rummy. The cards are right there in the second drawer. Right over there. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Just deal them out, will you? Go ahead, Don.
Jack, what's the idea of the Chinese kimono?
Don, it relaxes me. It's comfortable, you know, when I play cards. Well, there we are. Go ahead, Don.
Oh, boy, what a hand I've got.
You're gonna need it, brother.
Rochester, everybody's waiting on you. We're going around again.
Oh, I changed my mind, Roy. I'm going back home. I hate to stick Mr. Benny with all that housework.
But you played him a game of gin rummy to get the afternoon off. You won it fair and square.
Well, it wasn't exactly fair and square. I wore a Chinese kimono.
A Chinese kimono? What are you laughing at?
At one time, I had cards so far up my sleeve, I had to go after them with a pair of chopsticks.
Oh, Don. Don. Don, you're supposed to answer the phone, too.
Oh, all right. Mr. Benny's residence. Don, the downstairs maid speaking. Oh, hold on. Rochester, he wants to talk to you.
Thank you, Donna. Hello? No. No, Rochester, I won't need you now. I got everything under control. Yeah. Goodbye.
What am I supposed to do when I finish the dishes?
Well, you wax the floors and you wash the windows and clean out the garage.
Is that all?
No, Don. At 7 o'clock, you have to prepare dinner for Rochester. He ordered ham hocks under glass. Now, I got to go to the supermarket and do some shopping. Don, so here, hang up my robe, will you?
Oh, all right.
There you are. Get that? There you are.
Jack, you cheated.
Don, don't be a sore loser. Now, hang up my robe.
All right, all right.
There's somebody at the door. Come on in.
Hello, Mr. Benny.
Now, look, Dennis, I'm very busy. I got a lot of things to do today. You see, so if you got something to say, say it.
Well,
if not, let me go.
That's a fine way to talk to someone who had double pneumonia this morning.
Double pneumonia?
But I'm all right now.
Dennis, that's a silly... If you had double pneumonia this morning, how could you come to see me now? Did you take penicillin?
No, I took the Sunset bus.
Now, stop that! Silly Sunset bus. All you had was you probably caught a slight cold, that's all. How'd you catch it?
You see, I wanted to play a trick on my father, so I put a pail of ice water over the door so that when he opened the door, the ice water would fall on his head.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the ice water would fall on your father.
Yeah.
Well, then, how did you catch cold?
Testing.
What?
It worked every time.
Dennis, look, I haven't got time for this silly talk. I got to go to the supermarket and do some shopping.
Oh, but Mr. Benny, look, I want you to hear the song that I'm going to do on your show next
I
week.
haven't got time to hear it, Dennis. I got to go and change my shirt. We'll
Oh,
go to
but I
the bar.
want you to hear it.
Well, then sing it in the kitchen. I'll hear it in the other room.
Boy, what a grouch. Hey, I'll fix him. Let there be you. Let there be me. Let there be oysters under the sea. Let there be wind and occasional rain. Chili con carne and sparkling champagne. Let there be birds to sing in the trees. Someone to bless me whenever I sneeze. Let there be cuckoos, a lark and a dove, but most of all, please, let there be love. Let there be birds to sing in the trees. Someone to bless me whenever I sneeze. Let there be cuckoos, would you like me to sing an encore?
What?
I said, would you like me to sing an encore?
What's that?
I said, do you want me to go to...
I'll see you later, kid. Let's see, what do I have to get here?
Do you mind?
Now, let's see what I have to get here. Let's see, what's first? Mother's homemade noodle soup. Dad's old-fashioned mustard. Grandma's pickles. Gee, the whole family's working. See, I must be going to pick up a chicken, and I need peas, corn. I think I'll get the corn first there. Oh, Mister.
Yes?
Pardon me, but where's the corn department?
I'm looking at it.
What?
I saw that act you put on with those baskets.
I wasn't putting on any act. I just couldn't pry them apart, that's all. And the store ought to do something about it.
Well, we might put our health food department in the parking lot and build you up on the way in.
Look, all I want to find out is where I can get a can of corn, that's all.
Well, the canned goods are right here on this counter.
Well, why didn't you say so?
Shoot.
Let's see. What else?
Howdy do. You like some fruit?
Yes. How much are the oranges?
40 cents a dozen.
40 cents a dozen? How much are the apples?
Oh, we got a special today. The apple's 5 pounds, 25 cents.
All right, I'll have 5 pounds of apples, 25
All right.
cents.
5 pounds apples, come right up.
Okay.
There you are, 5 pounds, 27 cents.
27 cents.
Oh, sure.
You just said 5 pounds for a quarter.
Oh, sure, that's right. But you see, this way a little more, it's 27 cents.
But I don't want any more. I just want 5 pounds for a quarter. That's all. I don't want any ounces more. 5 pounds for a quarter.
All right, all right. Don't get mad. I give. £5, 25 cents. Good luck to me.
You have to make pie out of that, huh? Now, let's see. God, I didn't notice any butter here. Yeah, I wonder if we have any butter at home. I better call home and find out. Oh, there's the phone.
Mr. Benny's residence. Denise, the downstairs maid speaking.
Dennis, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm washing the windows, dusting the furniture, shaking out the rugs, and I still have to do the laundry.
Wait a minute. Did you play cards with Don Wilson?
Yeah,
What did he look like?
like Fu Manchu.
Well, Dennis, he cheated you.
Yeah, I know he did. I found that out. Boy, did I get even with him. You see, after the game, he got hungry.
Well, wait a minute. I don't want to hear what you did. Look will you go to the refrigerator, find out if I need any butter, will you please?
Yeah, hold the line. Is there any butter in there?
Dennis, let me out of here.
Benny, I don't know about butter, but you got 300 pounds of lard in there.
Oh, what a crazy kid. It's a wonderful store. Gosh, even the telephones give stamps. Let's see, what else do I have to get now? I don't know. I guess I might as well look around. How do you do? I might as well look around there. Oh, mister.
Yes, can I be of assistance? Oh, it's you again.
Yeah, look at. Can you tell me where I can get? Hey, wait a minute. Why did you make such a drastic cut in the alphabet soup?
Because we just discovered that the alphabet in these cans is in Latin.
In Latin? How could they make a mistake like that?
It was no mistake. When this soup was made, that was the language.
Imagine making up a silly joke like that. I never heard anything like it here. Hey, wait a minute. Look at the directions. Friends, Romans, countrymen. Keep it in a cool chariot. Gee. Old soup like that can make you sick. Well, 3 cents a can, I can chance it. Let's see.
Would you like a sample? And how about you? So it is.
Can I go over and get his autograph?
You go ahead. I'll wait here.
Mr. Benny? Mr. Benny?
Yeah?
Could I please have your autograph on my comic book?
Oh, certainly, Sonny. Let's see, of course. What's your name, first name?
Tommy.
Tommy. All right. To Tommy from Jack Benny. Yeah?
You know, Mr. Benny, I play the violin, too.
Oh, really?
I've been playing for 2 years.
Oh. Well, how well do you play?
Pretty good.
That's wonderful. You play like me?
I used to.
Here's your autograph. Thinks he's smart because he's got freckles. Let's see what else do I want here. Gosh, I gotta get some frozen foods here, and there's that same fella. I hate to ask him. He always got a smile. Hey, mister.
Yes,
Yeah, it's me. Now, where do I get the frozen foods?
Go to the shelf between G and I.
What?
Go to the shelf between G and I.
That's a silly... Why did you just tell me to go to H?
Remember, you said it, I didn't.
extended can is half price. I can't figure out at all.
Yes, sir, may I help you?
Yes, I'd like to look chickens, please. The chicken, I think.
Yes, sir, I'm sure you'll find these chickens are very nice, and they're only 59 cents a pound.
59 cents a pound?
That's
for a
right.
chicken. That's a lot, isn't it?
Well, these chickens are very nice, and I can guarantee they're fresh.
Oh. Oh, did you just kill them?
I only killed 3. The smog got the rest.
Oh, yeah. Gee, I can still see the tears in their eyes. Gosh, I don't know. I'll tell you what, give me a pound of frankfurters.
Yes, sir. 1 pound of frankfurters coming up. Here we are. Now, these are very nice. 1 pound, 2 ounces.
Look, wait a minute. Hold it. I don't want a pound and 2 ounces. I just want 1 Why can't I get what I want? I want 1 pound of frankfurters. That's all. I don't want a pound and 2 ounces.
Okay. 1 pound of frankfurters.
Everybody bites. Nobody cuts.
Now, will that be all?
Yes, I think... No. No, that's not all. I want a pound of raw liver.
This liver just came in fresh this morning. Isn't that lovely?
Just what I want. Just a pound of raw liver.
1 pound, 3 ounces.
I don't want any 3 ounces. I only want a pound of raw liver.
Okay. Here, Robert.
You can keep that and the frankfurter and the chicken. The craziest store I was ever in my life. Anything like this place. Now, let's see. What else do I need here? Oh, why can't somebody help me? Oh, Clark! Clark!
Yes, be right there, sir. Right with you. What is... Oh, is it you again? What is it this time?
Now, where are the paper napkins, the frozen food, and the ketchup and the mayonnaise, and the canned pizza?
My goodness, can't you find anything?
No, I can't. It's your job to help me, to do my shopping.
Oh, you want me to help you do your shopping?
Yes,
I'll help you shop.
I don't want
Jack will be back in just a moment, but first...
Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the show. Now, these things actually do not happen in a supermarket. Except to me. Any store, this happens to me. Oh, Frank Nelson, would you come out here, please? 366 North Camden Drive, please.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I'm back again. So here we are at the end of the show. Let's talk about it a little bit. We have Kathy Fuller Seeley with us. Hello, Kathy. We have John Henderson with us.
Hello.
We have Zach Eastman with us.
Hello.
Hello. We also have Terry Phillips with us. Hey, Terry.
Hiya.
So let's get started with our whole crew talking about this episode, which is, like I said before, isn't truly a Thanksgiving episode. I think it came out in January of the year, but this is a film version. We talked about the live version before, and this one stays pretty close to the differences are not great. If it was me and I was redoing it, I would have expanded the grocery shopping piece to add a little bit more of that and cut down on the beginning. But that is what I would have done. So let's get John. What were your impressions of this one?
I thought this was a fun episode, especially at the beginning. The stuff with Rochester and Dawn was lots of fun. And then the shopping stuff I thought was okay. I thought it was, I wonder what it was like at that time. Like, were supermarkets new-ish? And like, is that why they're commenting on supermarkets? Like, for me, I've had supermarkets my whole life, and sort of like it's all been done before. But we've all had that time when like you're trying to get the grocery cart out, and it's like, oh, and that's such a part of life that I didn't even like see it as a commentary at first. I had to like think about it. Oh yeah, if imagine this was new and trying to get the grocery cart out, that would be like a funny thing. So yeah, we could talk more about it, but I'll let everyone say their initial thoughts first.
Okay, and we'll go around. Zach, since you're back, and it's been a long time, Zach, since we've had Zach with us. Zach, what stood out to you on this episode?
This is happening the more I tend to look at these later 60 shows with Jack. It's not just the fact that it's pre-filmed and we've got coverage that's interesting. We're also having a lot of gags that are trying to pose as radio gags by using other angles as coverage. So I think I was more fascinated than anything else by observing some of these ones specifically. But one of the things that I loved about it is at the very end where they are covering for what could only be set up as a radio gag by means of timing, which is getting Jack into that grocery cart, but we don't see it until after he rolls them out. Right. It's not like, I'm not going to say this is like pitch perfect television comedy, but I liked seeing the setup of like how they're going to pull that off to a certain degree within the visual realm. I do love any of the bits in the house. With timing aside, they are a lot of fun still, and I do like Dennis looking and knocking on the fridge to find out if they have any butter. Like, and again, like some of these like gags are recycled to a certain extent, but I remember this one in terms of like just being able to like still make me laugh, even though there's like pacing issues and editing issues. So I can't be completely down on it. The best gag, hands down, though, is the one that they do replay a bunch in clip shows or documentaries, and rightfully so, which is the kid asking for an autograph. The timing on that is perfect. There's no issues whatsoever. Jack's on top of it. The child actor's on top of it. And it remains one of those great bits. So it's not it's not a bad episode by any means.
No, it's interesting that you say that because you're right. They are kind of stalling for time so you can get them in the basket. But this is not a live episode. They could have just cut.
They could have, but it's weird because it's live. Or because it's pre-filmed. Yes, you're right. You can do that, right? The fact that they chose to do that means it was a choice. And I don't know if that's because I've gone through this before when talking about Jack on film. Wide shots or medium wide shots are funny. Close-ups are not funny. So I love that they kept in a wide to build upon the joke so that it could keep it in a wide rather than cutting. It was an intelligent choice. It was just not expected. So like now looking at this not as a Benny fan but as a filmmaker, it's different, and I'm like, this is interesting. Like I do love that they do it. I don't know if it completely succeeds, but it definitely is unique. As opposed to one of the other episodes we're talking about later today, this one I think manages to pull off its editing issues quite nicely.
Good. Kathy?
Well, just as John said, I'm fascinated by that moment of time of what supermarkets were like in 1961, and I can some of my first memories are being up in the cart in these strange places that are large and small. And it makes me really want to do a sort of a Jack Benny at Costco or Jack Benny at one of my mega super, my mega HEB grocery stores here in Texas, because it would be a wonderland of marching down the canyons and finding things. I was intrigued because I thought the key visual gag would be taking the cake. And I seem to remember that worked particularly well in the live version. I think because there was more tension about him looking, and it says free. And, so I think the timing was just a little bit less fortuitous this time, and that he just seemed to take. Although I like the fact that he took the second part of the cake. But
I think the best part of that was at the very end, where he goes and he thinks about taking the free sign. He touches it and he like grabs it, and then he's like, okay, I won't take that. But I just thought that was perfect, Jack. And then, like Zach was saying, the joke with the kid, that is one of the best jokes in the whole Benny canon of television shows. I mean, it just delivered so well.
Play like me? I used to.
And the setup with the kid saying he's played for 2 years. So I mean, you get that first. I played for 2 years. Oh, do you play like me? I used to. And then it's just, you're better than Jack within 2 years. So that's
I did like my little 2024 jump scare when the butcher's cutting the liver and just feeding it to the dog, or I mean, so that's one difference between 1961 and 2024, is that maybe we'd have a little more of safe food handling practices.
Yes. Well, Terry, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I agree with all of you about how delightful this episode was. Even though it was a remake, it was a good remake.
Yeah.
About the kid who asked for Jack's autograph, the kid whose character name was Tommy. The actor's name was Flip Mark. His birth name was Philip Mark Goldberg. And when his parents were trying to get him into show business, because he had the look, of a kid from that episode, freckle-faced kid, he went to an agent for a photography gig, and I don't know what the picture was for, but there was a job, and the agent's on the phone with the client and the agent, and this is the first time the kid and his mother walk into the agent's office, and he covers the mouthpiece on the phone and says, "What's the kid's name?" And she says, "Philip Goldberg." He says, "Nah, that won't work. Does he have a nickname?" And she said, "Yeah, we call him Flip." "Oh, Flip, that's perfect. And what's his middle name?" "It's Mark." "His name is Flip Mark." That's how he got the stage name.
Wow.
The joke, I've been practicing for 2 years. Well, I used to play as well as you did.
Yeah.
That was done. You remember the episode that we all talked about when he was in Australia and the little girl comes up from the audience?
Yes.
Or it doesn't come up from the audience. They'd found her.
Yeah.
I think she told that same joke.
Yeah.
I believe that they used it there. Nevertheless, I don't remember if that was before or after this. Nevertheless, I agree with you. It was the epitome of this episode. I also looked forward to the stacked cans gag, which they did in the live show. And I don't remember whether they did it exactly this way or not, but I thought they pulled it off perfectly. I was looking forward to seeing that again, and it really paid off well, I thought.
I think there was another topper on it somehow in the live show that they did.
Yeah.
It was like more to it, but it was good.
I don't remember if they did the green stamps coming out of the payphone in the live episode. I don't remember seeing that there.
That was a good bit.
I don't know how many people would recognize those S&H green stamps, which were huge in the 1960s when this episode.
I was the one in charge of licking and filling the books.
Yeah. They were competing with a few other companies, notably Blue Chip stamps. But S&H dominated the market of these. It was a kind of a loyalty program.
Yeah.
At that time, but coming out of the payphone, I just that one caught me by surprise.
The stamp thing, I think, strangely, I don't know, people of my generation and younger, right, would remember that from the Brady Bunch, where they were trying to get stamps, and the boys were in a competition with the girls of who could get the most stamps, and they were going to buy I mean, it's so funny how those things stick with you because the girls were wanting to buy a sewing machine and the boys were wanting to buy either fishing gear or a boat or something. I think it was a boat. And I remember my sisters, when we're watching it, were going, a boat is so much better than a sewing machine. Why wouldn't you all want the boat?
I want to say one more thing. There was one really weird joke in here. Again, I don't remember if it was in the live episode. It might have been when he was looking at the discounted cans of alphabet soup.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And he was told that they were marked down because they were not in English, they were in Latin. Well, Latin is written in the same alphabet, and it just struck me as weird. But then but they pulled it out when he read, Friends, Romans, and Countrymen, and I can't remember, there was some keep it in your chariot, I think. It took me a minute to figure out what was wrong with that, but it still paid off.
Yeah, it still worked.
Hard to tell if
it does work. I get the feeling that joke could be set up for a better literary nerd kid joke or nerd adult, whatever. Like there's something about it that it could have been a great highbrow joke, like that seemingly could have been written by a Futurama writer, and it doesn't. But they want to go for the thing that's accessible to everybody. So it's kind of like, I wish this could be this, but I'll settle for this. This is fine.
I'll bet they discussed things like, well, maybe instead of Friends, Romans, and Countrymen, e pluribus unum, or
yeah.
else,
Like if
it would have been a
they
stretch.
Yeah, if they followed up with a Latin phrase, I think is what I would like. But beggars can't be choosers today.
It's still, as I said, it's still funny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it still kind of, I mean, it was funny, just the concept of it. But then at the end, when Frank says, well, that's when these were made, or whatever is the language at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack still wants to buy one, because they're so discounted. I mean, that was
the button was, it didn't matter whether he might get sick. It's still, it was 3 cents. How can I not buy this?
I think they missed an opportunity from my absolutely favorite canned goods joke from Benny history, is when he made Rochester go buy the cans where the labels had fallen off.
Yes.
And what are we having for dinner? Can of.
Yeah. That would have been a great setup. Or like or even the labels are halfway torn, so you're getting like half of what the word is. So you're trying to figure out what is it going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Bell's soup.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyone else have anything else? John, I think you had a few more things maybe.
Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, firstly, it was great to see Frank Nelson. As in particular, Jack Benny radio fan, I love it to be able to see the radio people and to see what they look like and everything like that. So I loved the beginning with Jack Benny. He's doing the chores and Rochester's playing golf. I thought that was very funny. I thought, the fact that he's in like an apron and stuff like that, it wasn't that funny to me. I was like, okay, great. It's the kind of thing that Jack Benny would do. But for some reason, when Don Wilson comes out in that apron and get up, it was just hilarious. And I think part of it is just the way that Don carries himself. Mm-hmm. It's so funny. And you can like feel the emotion coming from him is sort of like indignant, especially when he gets mad. It's hilarious. So I love that. And then Dennis Day comes. It's nice to see Dennis Day. He's a little taller than I imagine in the radio show, but I thought it was interesting because he sings his song, but he's clearly lip syncing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's got all his little things that he's doing. So, it was interesting. And I wonder if people back in the 60s would have been as, if anybody actually thought that he was actually singing live or not. So, yeah.
Who knows?
I think because it's so fly by one and done, you don't have a way to pause it to actually see it. It's kind of irrelevant. But yeah, it's one of those details we can nitpick because we have the ability to pause it and whatnot. But I agree. Like, for some reason when Don has the get up on, and I do think because he was a very tall guy, like there is something about him having his legs pulled up that is
Yeah.
very, very funny in a way that
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily work with Jack. And part of it's because
Yeah.
we've seen Jack do some of this stuff before
Sure,
and in
yeah.
funnier things. Like there's a whole movie dedicated to him being in a dress that's hilarious. But so I do think that Don's revelation is funnier.
Yeah.
And I do like, and again, like all the stuff in the house is pretty well handled in the respect that it's using its space properly, and it doesn't have as many wonky edits, so to speak. I can't say it's perfect, but I think for one of the film shows, it definitely is one of the more powerful ones.
Well, I think the radio show was so good and so amazing
Yeah.
that I've always kind of felt like the TV show is a 15-year victory lap for the radio show.
Yeah.
And that everybody, Mary, Dennis,
Mhm.
Jack, even, are trying to get to the level that they had on the radio show. And when they succeed, you're like, oh, this is a great episode. This is wonderful. I think Don is the only cast member I can think of that exceeds his radio performances pretty much on a routine basis. I mean, because in the radio performances, he was there, he was great. He was the glue that held it all together, sort of thing.
Yep.
But his performances on seeing him visually and his facial expressions and his awkward acting ability, and it just is so enjoyable on these TV shows that it just, to me, he's at his best pretty much on television, which is surprising. I would never have guessed that would be anywhere near true, and I think it kind of is, and it looked like everybody was nodding like, yeah, that's
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is such a thoughtful point. And to think it comes 20, 30 years into Don's career that he's been busy doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's got these, I mean, other abilities that never occurred to anybody to
I have a feeling it's because of that tenure that he's able to pull off what he's doing, because he gains a certain type of confidence or ability over the time that he was working on radio with him. And he's had time to know not just how to work with Jack, but how to interact with Jack. And there's something about like him as a performer where sometimes Jack and Rochester stuff on TV doesn't feel as sharp. Sometimes Jack and Dennis stuff doesn't feel sharp. I've never really found a moment with Jack and Don that has ever felt forced or uneven, unless it's because of the editing in the film shows. If I'm talking about a live show or this one, like there's never a bad point. And I do think a part of it is that by the time you get to television, they are the two mainstays. They have the most to do together. So apart from Mel Blanc. So they are clearly working out bits on a more rehearsed basis, almost like they're getting ready for Broadway, so to speak. So they're able to, it becomes an autopilot for Don just as much as it became an autopilot for Jack, so to speak.
And
well,
if
when you
think
mentioned
about
Rochester, I think he's right up there with Don as being as good or maybe better in some of the TV performances and things, because he really can do a great job. I mean, I love that he can show off his dancing and just his physical. He's got a physicality about him that he can pull off pretty amazing things, and I love to see some of the stuff he can pull off. Is just
I think this is around the time his health was sort of the start of it being on the wane. So you can definitely tell that the timing isn't the same, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment. It's no different than Jack being off at times. Like they're getting older, like, and it's going to be expected. And I will say, like, unlike watching older Bob Hope specials, watching Jack between the 60s up to 74 before he passes is not the same burden or chore of loyalty, so to speak. It's not to criticize Bob per se, but his older stuff does not compare to what Jack was able to pull off in his older stuff.
Yeah, excellent. And I think Terry was going to throw
I was just going to say that if you think about the other announcers who became more important characters who followed Don Wilson, and first person who comes to mind is Ed McMahon. He started out, as a pitchman pretty much, and laughing at Johnny's jokes, but he became more involved as a character. I don't think he ever rose to the level of Don Wilson, in my view, but I think that was the same arc that they followed. And others. Who's Jimmy Kimmel's sidekick?
Guillermo, I think.
Guillermo, yeah.
Yeah, Guillermo.
Same kind of thing, where he started out just as, I'm not even sure if he was ever the announcer, but he was the sidekick. He was the
he's
star.
a utility character, so to speak. And actually, I would say Andy Richter to Conan O'Brien is
much better example. You're absolutely
Andy Richter, and similar to Don, Andy Richter's been able to spin off in his own directions if he so chooses.
As opposed to the huge role of announcers in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 50s into television. Think of Bill Lundigan, who we're going to meet in the Shower of Stars. The announcers are such kind of plastic people. The fact that Don has always been able to keep his humanity and not just totally roll over into good pitchman. So.
Right, and unless you have the right writers and the right people around you, it's never going to work. The two exceptions, to my mind, tend to be Bill Goodwin for Burns and Allen. I know Harry Von Zell did pretty good with Allen and the other Allen, but Bill Goodwin, because he was already an actor and he's starring in anything from Wake Island over on down to House of Horrors, there's something about him that he can keep his humanity. And the same thing could kind of be said for Ken Carpenter whenever he was working with Bergen and McCarthy, but he doesn't get a lot of moments to shine in those radio shows. Harlow Wilcox, I guess, for Fibber McGee and Molly, but he is more of a insert the dime and hear a Johnson's Wax commercial.
And thank you, Don Pardo.
Well, the other thing I was going to throw out about Don is throughout not just his whole time on Jack's radio show, but I mean, he was sometimes in up to 8 other radio shows at the same time.
Yeah.
And then his TV performances. He's one of the few people that I can think of where I've never heard anything that sounds phoned in, or it always seems like he puts everything into what he's doing, and it comes across audioly through the radio stuff, and it comes across visually in the TV show performances. And the fact that they can throw apparently anything at him and he's up to doing any of it. I mean, he can. The one I was amazed at recently that we showed here in the last few months was Don's relationship with Harlow, his television son. Is he can get angry and still be funny when he's angry, and yet you feel like he's truly angry, or maybe so it works. I mean, the way he can make anything work to get the kind of comedy that they want to get through it, and it's very broad sometimes. I mean, some of the advertisements where he's dancing around, or where they got him in a funny outfit or whatever, he can do that, but he can also do the more subtle office style comedy of being angry but not really angry, and I mean that's a very different style. And
he's really good at jilted pride.
Let's not forget, this was in an era before the notion of body shaming became an issue, and Don thrived and apparently really enjoyed self-deprecating humor based on his size, and he was both laughing at himself, and it gave him occasion to push back at Jack, to get angry at him. It was in some ways he was the best performer on the Jack Benny show.
and I think
right?
And I think part of the reason that works in a way that other jokes like this from the era where body shaming is more acceptable doesn't, like it. The reason it works for Jack and Don is that it's never really truly mean. Number one,
right.
It's never punching down. And also there is like an absurdity level cranked up to 500 with any description on radio, let alone television, that it's impossible to believe it. And when you see what Don looks like, the over exaggeration on radio becomes far more clear.
Yeah.
This is what I like about it is that it does hold up in a way that jokes like this never would.
Right.
I cringe at jokes like this in other media, but Jack, it's never been an issue, and it has to do with the kindness that is
and it seems
extended.
like he's in on the joke when you
Yes.
like the exaggerated ones, you can always hear him laughing in the background. And even in the times when he comes and he says like, you know, that's it, Jack. I don't want you to, you know, you've been making fun of my weight for years and I've had enough, you know, just because I'm a big fat slob. And so he's always like in on the
Yes.
joke by the end.
There's a it's from the Captain Horatio Hornblower bit, and they'd had an argument up at the front of the show when they're in the sketch. Jack goes, good boy Wilson, stout fellow, and you hear him in the background going, I'm only stuffing myself for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, because again, it's irreverence at its finest right there. And I think that's why he's able to weave in on that supermarket episode and putting on that maid outfit in such a nice way. And again, he participates in the madness because I don't care who you are, stuffing anybody in a refrigerator the way they're implying would be rather ridiculous, unless it's Indiana Jones, I guess.
I just think this is so appropriate that we're having a Dawn discussion of on our Thanksgiving episode. It just seems really appropriate. And to tie into this, because I just thought of this as we're going, I'm going to throw, after we're done here talking, we'll throw off to a Dawn interview and have Dawn talk about his career and things. I think because I know I have a lot of those. I might just grab an audio one. I might grab a video one. We'll see. But just for a little added entertainment, because you gotta love Dawn. He's so great. The one that sticks out of my mind is an episode. I don't love the episode necessarily. It's not one of my favorites, and they've redone it a million times, so it's definitely one of their favorites. But certain pieces of it I really like, and Don does a great job of it, and so does Jack. It's the anniversary episode where it's like Don's 30th year in on the show, or 30th year in radio, or it changes what it is every once in a while, or he's king for a day or whatever it is for that. But the whole piece where Jack talks about bringing Dawn on board and how that really helped his show. And then Dawn is like, well, Jack, it was so great to come into your show when it was down and be able to,
never down.
through my ability, bring it up to a level where heights it had never seen me. And Jack's like, it was never down, Dawn. And then Dawn continues his thing about it being down. And he's like, Dawn, it was never down. And it's just that the between the two of them is so delightful there as they're arguing whether the show was ever down before Dawn came on. And I do think Dawn is somewhat right. He did take it to another level once he joined the show. It did notch up, just like when they brought on Mary, it notched it up again. And each progressive person that they would bring on, when they got Phil on there and Dennis on there, and it really improved the show. And they knew when they improved the show, they'd lock someone in. And it's telling that Dawn is the very first person that they locked in. Probably, I guess, after Mary. I would Kathy would know more about this. So
yes,
because kind of Mary was locked in by then, and then
well,
but he
it's
was
a personal contract. But then Jack was very much subject to. And wherever he was broadcasting, NBC says you're going to use our announcer, you're going to use our band, you're going to use our announcer, you're going to use our band. And when he was up to about his 57th announcer, he says, "How can I, that?" So that's why Don is the first person that Jack put under personal contract. I mean, other than Harry Conn, the writer, the first on-air performer was Don Wilson. So you're saying I can make this character that important.
Yeah. And that says a lot.
Go with me everywhere. So
Yep. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Unless anyone has anything else to add. Thank you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy this Thanksgiving episode, though it's not. But just pretend he's buying turkey instead of chicken, and you're good. Yeah. Enjoy. We'll see you guys.
Happy
next
Food
time.
Day.
Thanks, everybody.
Dry Beverages he was on for.
Yeah.
That was his first year as the Jack Benny Show.
Right.
Then the second year he was signed by Chevrolet, and the contract was terminated at the end of 26 weeks. Now, so the story goes, and I think it's an awfully good story, but I won't vouch for its veracity, that the advertising manager of the Chevrolet division of General Motors concluded that their product was so high class that they should be represented on the air by a symphony and not by a comedian. So Jack's contract was terminated at the end of 26 weeks. And it was at that point in the spring of 1934 that he held an audition for an announcer to carry on with him for the rest of that season of 13 weeks. And I just got awfully lucky and got the job. I was thrown into a general audition with all the other staff boys and the freelance men around town. And the only answer I can give, how did it happen? Nothing really dramatic about it. Nothing world-shattering took place, except I think perhaps I laughed in the right places when I read lines, and that got me the job.
Well, had you, when you had the opportunity to go in for this audition, in your mind, now you're pretty successful as a sportscaster at that time, did you think that this was would be a positive thing for you to become an announcer for? I know Jack Benny was pretty big in radio at that time yet, but still,
I really didn't know enough about what I was trying to do or what was going on to be able to make any kind of a deduction. But it didn't take me long to realize that it was the happiest move that I would ever have the opportunity of taking advantage of, and I snapped at it.
Well, we're glad you did too, because for so many years we had some tremendous good entertainment. You were preceded on the Benny Show by 3 other announcers, however. And,
maybe you remember who they were.
Well, I did some digging to find out. The George Hicks was Jack's first announcer.
Very good friend of mine.
And Paul Douglas, who later became an actor.
That's right. Paul was.
And a man
I'd forgotten Paul.
with an exotic name by the name of Alois Avrila.
Avrila.
Yeah.
Alois Avrila was a Czech, one of the top people at NBC, and he was on, but he couldn't make the transition when that 26 weeks changeover took place that I referred to, because Avrila was doing the Firestone Hour, and General Tires brought Jack Benny for 13 weeks to fill out that 34 season. And so that's the reason that Jack was looking for another announcer.
So your first commercial for Jack was General Tires?
That's right. That's right.
And then,
Bill O'Neill, president of General Tires, was the man responsible for hiring Jack.
When you started to work for Jack, were you hired by the network or by the agency? Or by Jack, I should say.
I was on staff at NBC, as everybody on the announcing staff had to be. I was under their management. But Jack was the man that did the hiring. He negotiated the whole deal.
Did he set your salary then, at that time?
Well, I guess you would say he did. Jack had such a reputation of being a skinflint. And all I can say is that the Jack Benny that I knew had all the great attributes of a great human being, such as generosity, tolerance, interest, and he was back of you 100%. So I wasn't as time went on, I wasn't the recipient of his puniriousness that he was so reputed to be on the air.
Yet over the course of time on radio and even into television, a lot of the great, of course, this is Jack's character coming out in the shows, but in so many instances, there was so many stories around Don Wilson's salary, which was next to nothing, and how he locked you in a room until it was time for you to sign, until you would sign the new contract at the
That's
old
right.
salary.
That's right.
And all of that sort of thing.
You have a great memory. You've done a lot of homework, haven't you?
Well, I enjoy listening to all those old shows and enjoy remembering them too.
Well, they were great, great days.
They were fantastic.
And the big broadcast of 1944 that we're doing here at the Mill Run is reminiscent of that great era in the golden era of radio, in which I was fortunate enough to be a part of and be a part of the Benny operation in the doing.
In the big broadcast, you come out at the top of the show to warm up the audience. Is that correct?
That's right.
Now, you had the same role for the Benny show over
That's
the
right.
years.
Then I sort of MC the show. I introduce all the acts as they come on and so forth. Harry James, of course, is the top star. He does a certain amount of introducing at the end of the show. But I might mention in passing, and I'm bouncing around sort of hither, thither, and yon. Harry and I did the Chesterfield show together in 1942. I did the Chesterfield show with Glenn Miller. Then when Miller went into the service, Harry took over, and I continued on. So Harry and I worked for Chesterfield at that time, and we haven't worked together in all these many years since, until the institution of the big broadcast of 1944. Excuse me.
You worked for Chesterfield's then while you were doing the Jello stuff for Jack.
Yes.
And then we forgot about Chesterfield's when you moved over to Lucky Strike.
Well, we were out for General Foods and Jello for 10 years. And Lucky Strike came after then. Lucky Strike sponsored Jack and the Benny Show for 15 years. They were the greatest longevity of any client on the show. General Foods being 10 years for Jello and 15 years for Lucky Strike.
It's amazing. You think back, Jack Benny had as his sponsor Jello for 10 years and Lucky Strike for 15 years. And today, now here in the 1980s, you're lucky if you get a sponsor to pick up a 30-second commercial during a television special.
That's right.
No longevity at all.
My, how times have changed.
Yeah, really have. But you see, the sponsors took pride in the programming in those days. Now, there was always the hue and cry. I'll editorialize for a second here.
Good.
Always the hue and cry that once they got the network programming out of the hands of the sponsors, the audiences would have better programming. And eventually, through the 50s and the 60s, the programming moved away from the sponsors who really produced the shows through their advertising agency, or most of them.
You got it.
To the point where now the networks are producing the shows or paying for the shows to be produced, and the sponsors really don't have any interest in it other than the sheer numbers they're getting out there. Whereas in the old days, and you were there with the Jello and with the Lucky Strike things, I believe that the audience, in their response to the sponsor, fortified the sponsor and kept his interest in presenting that program.
I think your analysis is very well taken. I don't think anybody can dispute it.
Did you have any experiences with the audience responding to a sponsor, either positively or negatively, about anything that was on the show?
We never had any difficulty in all the shows that I did, particularly with the Benny operation. There was never that conflict between the show and the client. The sponsor, I think, was very well aware of the fact of Benny's integrity and his great showmanship and his devout attention that he gave to taste that he did on the show. And that was one thing that got Jack a great children's audience. Because he never tolerated anything on the air that was the least bit off color in those days. And it was a show that the whole family could listen to with no compunctions whatsoever. No fear.
Everybody enjoyed Jack Benny because Jack Benny was so different. He was the star of the show, but he was really, he didn't have all that many gag lines.
No, Jack has often said, I'm the biggest straight man in the business. And there was many a time when, well, Jack had a basic philosophy, if I may divert here for a moment, that, as I analyze it, and that is, Jack, it was obvious that this was his philosophy. The bigger he could make the supporting people that worked with him on the show, the bigger it made the Jack Benny show, and the bigger it made Jack Benny. Now, this is a leaf that I don't think any other comedian ever took out of Jack's book, and it was so sound and successful that I'm surprised somebody else didn't pick it up too. But that was Jack. That was the generosity and the thoughtfulness and the great showmanship that was reflected in Jack's operation in all the years he was on the air.
When you read about someone who has written something about the Jack Benny show, they always say he surrounded himself with all the stooges, and he would say Mary and Dennis and Phil and Don and the other ones.
Don't forget Rochester.
Rochester, of course. And yet, if you think about it, really, Jack was the stooge, and all of the others were they couldn't be stooges. You couldn't call him a stooge because a stooge is the guy who, in my mind, always gets the bad end of the joke or the bad end of the story.
That's right.
And that was always Jack.
But you brought up a reflection there that sparks a memory in my brain right now. There was one show, radio show, many, many years ago that I can recall very vividly, that Jack did not speak one word on the show or on a microphone until the last 5 minutes of the show. This was the great generosity of this great man. Other comedians, if in rehearsal a supporting player got the laugh line, the star had that line on the air, not the supporting player. Jack was the reverse. And all but 5 minutes, Jack was not on the air. We talked about him, we kidded him, he sat over with that kind of sheepish expression on his face on a chair to one side, and all the gags bounced off of him, but he never uttered one word, which was an amazing trait, really.
He really knew he had to have an awful lot of confidence in himself and his whole program.
Certainly he did.
He was a contributing writer, more or less, to the
Jack
show.
was a great editor. Jack was a creative mind. He created a lot of the basic ideas, just the thought, and turned it over to the writers for development. And of course, Jack always engaged the greatest writers in the business, in my opinion. And well, the show just took off from that basic, rather simple formula. Jack was a great blue pencil man. He could tell you from here to doomsday whether or not it was a gag that belonged on the show, that fit the character it was given to, or didn't fit the character. He knew what it was all about.
We're talking to Don Wilson, announcer for 35 years with Jack Benny on radio and television, appearing in the big broadcast of 1944 at the Mill Run Theater in Niles through Sunday, the 15th of June, along with Harry James and the orchestra, Dennis Day, Fran Warren, Warren Covington and the Pied Pipers, Carmen Cavallero, and the incomparable Hildegard.
It's the greatest show value in town. Don't miss it.
Absolutely.
You'll love yourself for having seen the show.
I said the other day when someone called and asked about the prices for the shows, and I said that this dollar for dollar, you can't get a better, your money's worth better anyplace else. To see all of that talent is worth twice as much money.
It's not a cheap show to produce. Believe me, it's not. And it's a great value, and sheer entertainment, no messages.
Well, who was it? Eddie Cantor who said, "If you want a message, call Western Union."
That's right.
Did you ever work with Eddie Cantor?
Yes, I did for 6 weeks. At a time when Harry Von Zell, who's a very close friend of mine over the years, were contemporaries. Harry could not make an Eastern trip with Cantor, and so Eddie asked me if I'd fill in for those 6 weeks. Now, the Benny Show had terminated for the season, and I was at liberty to do that, so I worked straight for Eddie for those 6 weeks.
You were mostly working for Jack Benny, but you were not exclusive to Jack
That's right.
At any time?
Virtually so. I did not have a contract to per se tied me down exclusively. But in its application, it perhaps was an exclusive contract. And that was due to, in the later years, to the fact that Jack's recording sessions or his on-camera TV appearances were not too predictable because he had other things going, particularly his concerts with his violin. And so the schedule for the radio shows and the schedule for the TV shows had to be governed ultimately by his availability. So the rest of us made our time available to him. So that excluded me particularly, as I recall, from doing a lot of other shows that were offered because I couldn't guarantee delivery of myself.
In the 1950s, Jack turned to tape for most of his shows, but prior to that, basically, those were all done live.
In the early days, they were, and then finally for the repeat show, they went to the transcriptions, a 33 and a third, you know. We used to do 2 shows a Sunday, one for the East Coast and one for the West, virtually. And that was a bit of much. And finally, when transcriptions came along, and we were able to do the show once a day, and then the repeat show being played off those transcriptions, that was a great boon, really. Great boon. Then, of course, tapes came along later.
When you did the show twice, if Jack had the 7 o'clock time spot, you were probably doing it at 4 o'clock.
That's
It's
right.
always in the West Coast, in Hollywood. You did it at 4 for the Midwest and the East, and then again at 7 for...
7 was the New York time.
Right. Well, wasn't
That's
it?
right.
Was it heard at 7 in the West Coast as well?
No, not as a general rule. The repeat show was.
The repeat,
Sometime-
yeah. But when the West Coast heard the Jack Benny show, they heard it at 7 o'clock?
Yes, Pacific Coast time.
Pacific time, right.
Yeah.
But what they were hearing initially was a repeat broadcast, and later was the transcription then.
Yes, you can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you had those 2 live shows, you've obviously had 3 hours worth of time between the shows, or 2.5 hours.
But it was well-consumed time because there was rewrites that went on during that time. Things that Jack and the writers and the producers thought might pay off, didn't frequently, did not pay off. So those are little changes that were made so that when they did the repeat show, it wasn't identical to the show that we had done earlier.
So maybe the West Coast, when they got the second shot at it, maybe they got a better show than we did here in the Chicago area.
Well, that's altogether possible, I think. You can't argue with that.
I don't think there ever was a bad Jack Benny show.
No, I think your point is well taken. Babe Ruth never hit a home run every time he got to bat either. And I don't think anybody on radio ever hit 100%. But Jack's batting average was extremely high. Believe me, it was high. And I don't say that because I had the privilege of being associated with that great man. It was a fact and well recognized and known in the industry.
Now, you've recently, I don't know how recent it is, but you're a resident of Palm Springs.
That's right.
And how recent is it? When did you take up residency in Palm
About
Springs?
12, 13 years ago.
So that's...
we got out of the Los Angeles rat race, as we call it, and decided we'd make our home in Palm Springs. And so that's what we've been doing.
Palm Springs was the real or fictional setting for a number of Jack Benny shows each year.
That's right. In the old radio days, we used to go down 2 or 3 times a year. And we'd do a show from Palm Springs that related to Palm Springs or the trip to Palm Springs. But it all had something to do with Palm Springs.
The most memorable ones for Jack Benny radio fans is a show he would do first or second week in December from Palm Springs, and it was the Christmas shopping show.
Oh, yeah.
And Jack would go into the department store, and he'd be trying to buy gifts for all the members of the cast, but the whole thing revolved around a gift for Don Wilson.
Shoelaces.
Shoelaces.
The generous man.
Or golf tees.
It could be.
Golf tees, or cufflinks.
Yes. Crazy
whatever
things
it
that
was.
happened.
And he'd always go back and exchange because he didn't know whether you'd like cufflinks with D on it or W or DW or Don. Is your middle name Harlow?
Yes.
Donald Harlow, C-D-H-W?
We had a chap on the show, purportedly our son. Mrs. Wilson and I have no children.
Mm-hmm.
But they hired this chap out of the Pasadena Community Playhouse named Dale White. And he played our son on the show, as Mrs. Wilson played herself, my wife, on the show for 15 years.
She actually did play herself.
Oh, yes,
on the
she
show.
did.
Lois?
Lois, that's right. She's the talent in our household, believe me.
Well,
Came from the theater originally.
She did a lot of radio in the 40s, didn't she? Out of the
Yes.
West Coast.
She had been very successful in the theater and looked upon this thing called radio rather down the nose, though, as theater people are prone to do. She said it will never last. It's a single-barrel medium. The theater, the live theater, is the lasting media. But when the theater stock business kind of went downhill, and there wasn't that activity in stock around the country, where she had done leads and character parts even as a young girl. And so she got involved through the persuasion of friends she'd been in the theater with, and she got involved in radio and whirled like a dervish ever since.
Do you can you recall some of the things she did that we might recall ourselves?
She was more or less a regular on the Lux Radio Theater, which was the hallmark of great dramatic shows. She played the principal supporting part to the leads that came in from the picture industry for several years. And she probably was on 3 weeks out of every 4 in a month. She was very popular there. She created the mother role for more kids that grew up in our industry. Corliss Archer, Date with Judy, well, you name it. And Lois had the voice quality that even as a younger woman that permitted her to be able to do mother parts very, very effectively. And I can't name. She has a list of credits as long as your right arm.
The name she used on radio was
Lois Corbett, C-O-R-B-E-T.
Lois Corbett.
That's her maiden name.
And how long have you been married?
We married in 1950. How about that?
1950.
How
so
lucky
you're
can I get?
celebrating your 30th anniversary
Yes.
this year.
Yes. Yes, we were married in June 1950. Say, hey, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
There's an anniversary coming up and I'm not home. Maybe I better resign and go back home right now, should I?
You ought to go to that Palm Springs department store and buy a gift for her. You, over the years, as the announcer and the foil for Jack, on his shows, more or less played the probably the smartest member of the cast. Dennis was always a little
He
flaky.
was a naive kid.
Yeah,
Dennis
and
was.
Phil was kind of brash and after the gals, and even a little tippling a little bit
That's
there.
putting it very politely.
But you always had the brains. You were the one who had all of the answers. And of course, when you
When I blew it.
well, when you put Jack into the corner, then he was ready to fire you again, right?
I recall one instance where I was waxing very erudite on the air and introducing Jack and talking about this particular situation, which I don't recall at the moment. And when I got through, Jack said, "My goodness, Don, I didn't know you knew all that. Where did you learn it?" And I said, "I read it in Dreer Poussin's column." Well, that created a whole new ball of wax. The crazy boo-boos that you make.
And that was not part of the script. That was
No,
a
that
flub.
just came out inadvertently. Reminds me of one time Fanny Bryce had been off the air for 2 years. She and Frank Morgan were on together for Maxwell House. Now Fanny is coming back with her own show, The Baby Snook Show. I had a cold, declamatory billboard opening in which I said, "The baby shook snow," and fell apart immediately. And the control room fell apart. We all fell apart and then got a big laugh out of it and started all over again.
Well, I understand that at one point you said, when you were talking for Lucky Strike cigarettes with their famous jingle back in the in the good old
here
days.
It comes. I knew you'd bring that up sooner or later.
You said, "Be lucky, go happy."
That's exactly what I said. And that was at the close of a show where we'd been doing a satire on with Barbara Stanley.
Sorry, wrong number?
No. It was what was the name of that show? Very well-known show. And we were doing it with Barbara Stanley, and I was signing the show off from off stage, as a matter of fact. And the closing scene, Jack went over and pulled the bell cord to summon the butler. Well, that caused a blackout because Jack did that pulling of the cord with so much alacrity that the whole ceiling fell down. So that was the blackout of the curtain, and the dust that was blown all around them backstage, as you know, they're a little bit drafty anyway. And a piece of plaster or whatever it was hit me in the eye under my glasses, and I reached for it like this and made the boo-boo that you quoted.
Well,
and that put me in the hospital for weeks.
No
kidding. And Lois got the job as the announcer on the show.
Well, then they made something out of that too. Then
every time somebody on the show would make a boo-boo, Jack was always quick to capitalize on it.
Were you among the? I know Jack was an innovator in integrating the commercials into the
yes,
the
Jack
comedy
was the
of the
integrator
show.
of that idea.
Yeah, you were part of that with the Jell-O things, as
yes,
far back
for
as the
many
beginning.
years. I didn't do the so-called hard sell announcing on the Benny Show, although that was the job I was hired to do originally. But Jack started having the writers write me into the script. So for a number of years, while I was always referred to as Jack Benny's announcer, even by Jack himself, the serious commercials at the opening and the close of the show were done by other people. I didn't have anything to do with them. But where I came into was the integrated commercial or the comedy commercial in the middle of the show that we did with the Sportsman's Quartet for so many years, so successfully. And that was the part of the commercial that I really participated in, as well as other characters throughout the show.
Where did the Sportsmen come from? Were they a quartet before they were formed for, or were they formed for this, or were they singing before?
No, they were going quartet before Jack hired them, and very successfully too, and made a great reputation for themselves. And it was all built out of a hum. Jack would ask them a question, and in harmony, they would hum. And that was the thing that started their career on The Benny Show.
And they'd start whatever song was popular, and they'd do the normal lyric, and then they'd come back with special lyrics for Lucky Strike cigarettes.
That's right.
It was absolutely fantastic. It was so terrific. And, of course, you were always bringing in the Sportsmen.
Yeah.
To the show. Don would show up with the Sportsmen.
What a memory you have.
Well, there was one time, I think, when the Sportsmen were missing or were gone, or I think the on-the-air explanation was that their wives all gave birth to children at the same time, and so they had Dick Hames and Bing Crosby, Dennis Day, and Andy Russell.
Oh, yeah.
Come in there
Gee
for
whiz,
doing
I
that sort
forgot
of
all
thing.
about that. Glad you reminded me of it. Thank you.
A little trip down memory lane. You have you toured with Jack in the United States during World War II to many of the camps. No, but you stayed stateside and went to many of the military camps.
Oh yes, we were very busy doing that, and we're thankful to be able to do it.
What kind of a reception did you get from the military personnel?
Just absolutely fantastic. They're the greatest audiences you ever want to play to. Great audiences, wherever it was, whether it was a military establishment of any kind, an Army base, a Navy base, or a hospital, or whatever it was. Those audiences, those kids were great, great audiences. Jack loved to do shows.
Well, you did a lot of work for the Armed Forces Radio Service with their command performance, I think.
I started the command performance when that was instituted. Then when I went east, Ken Carpenter took over. And then when I returned, I started Mail Call.
That's correct. Mail Call was.
You're bringing back memories I thought I'd forgotten.
Well, these were you're entirely welcome. I'm pleased to get the memory buds working here. these programs were never heard stateside. They were produced for these large 16-inch transcription discs
That's
to be
right.
sent to all over the world.
All over the world. That's exactly right. They were great shows. Every top star in the business was on either a mail call or command performance at one time or another or several times.
And they all worked for nothing, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah. How about the writers? Did the writers contribute the material too for them?
tremendously. Tremendously. Jack wouldn't do a show without his writers helping him put it together. Oh, they did a lot of work.
They were marvelous. Well, you weren't on just with Jack Benny on the command performance or mail call shows. You were on as either the MC or the host or the
That's right.
announcer for a galaxy of stars
That's right.
with those
That's
things.
right.
Did most of those programs come from that theater on Sunset and Vine where the Lux Radio Theater was brought? Because there was a radio studio.
We
there.
did several there, but we did several of those shows from a number of different locations at networks and so on and so forth around town, around Hollywood.
The Armed Forces radio shows often had audiences. Were they mostly military audiences?
At the time we were doing the performance, yes, mostly. There were a certain number of civilians in the shows, of course, whether we were in one of the studios or whether we were on a military base of any kind. But by far, the majority of the audience was military. And the nice thing about it, Jack would come into an auditorium that we might be playing on at a naval base or any military base, and if he found the GIs down in front, he immediately arranged it in his own politic way, where they got the brass out of those front rows and the GIs down, because that's where your audience was.
Yeah. That tells us more about Jack Benny, too, doesn't it?
That's right.
We're talking with Don Wilson, and I want to know a little bit more about you. Now, everyone associates you with the Jack Benny Show, but you did so many other programs too. You were involved in the in the 1930s in a program for Packard automobiles, weren't you? The Packard Show, didn't you announce the Packard program?
Well, I started that in Hollywood, and there again, Carpenter, whom I put in the radio business, succeeded me. And he did more of the Packard shows than I did. I started them on the coast and then went east and had to drop off of those, and Carpenter picked up at that time.
How did you start Ken Carpenter in the radio business?
Well, Carpenter had never seen the inside of a radio studio before. He was the son of a minister out of a town in Illinois that's very famous as a beer town.
That's Chicago, Morton Grove,
where they
Niles.
brew a lot of beer. It doesn't come to me at the moment, but it's rather incidental. Anyway, one of the head of a small agency in Los Angeles came to me one day and he said, "Don, we have a new minister at our church in Glendale. He has a son who wants to get in the radio business. Will you audition him?" And I said, his name was Wilson, too, incidentally, no relative. First name Alan. I said, "Well, Alan, I'll be glad to talk to the young man, but I have no place for anyone." So he sent Ken Carpenter in, and I took a liking to him right from the very beginning. We had a long talk. I gave him an audition. He was a college man. He was a highly dependable individual. You could tell that from talking with him. And I arranged it so I could hire him and put him on the relief shift at the noon hour and the dinner hour to pick up buttons, because we were tied to the network at that time. And that's how Ken started.
To pick up buttons. Now, what does that mean?
Well, picking up the buttons means that when you got a station break, the announcers had to push their own button. You had a man in the studio control room, but you had to pick up your own button in order to activate your voice. And you'd give your station call at that time, which was KFI in those days. And that's about all you had to do.
In other words, when the network would take a break for station identification or the music
That's
would
right.
be playing, you'd pick up the button. So
You got it.
You'd turn on the switch and say the call letters of the local
That's right.
station, and then
That's
they'd pick it
right.
up again.
That's right.
And for that, they paid you.
Well, that's what Ken Carpenter was hired for. I was, if I may brag a little bit, I was chief of staff at that time. So that's how it all happened.
You really have enjoyed your radio work, haven't you?
Very, very much.
Did you enjoy television as much as radio?
I think so. It's a different medium. It's an entirely different ball game. And it's gotten so that a lot of the charm that we used to enjoy in the old days has been dissipated. It's a numbers racket these days.
Yes.
You used to go into a radio studio or in the early days of television and you knew everybody. But I mean everybody. And you knew them intimately. And there was a great rapport. And but that's gotten so it doesn't exist any longer. It's like a factory job these days, you know. Maybe you'll see somebody, you've never seen them before or won't ever see them again, but there they are for that specific job.
Radio really was kind of a family association with the people behind the microphones as well as the people in front of the receivers.
One of the great things about radio, and it will never be acquired by television because it's impossible, but in the radio days, through the listener's eye, his mind's eye, he lived the show with you. He recreated. As the words came over the loudspeaker, he knew exactly what that individual looked like, although he'd never seen a picture of anybody. But in his own mind's eye, he did. And he knew what the situation was that we were talking about. Again, the imagination played the part. And that's one thing that young people, kids today, do not have that advantage that those of us that knew radio in the old days, because their imagination is no longer stimulated as it was during the days of radio.
Well, you helped us stimulate our imaginations with what you contributed to radio. And for
thank you.
Millions of people out there, I have to say thank you, Don Wilson. That's really something else. I have to say, too, I spent almost every Sunday at 6 o'clock here in Chicago, sprawled on the floor in front of that Zenith console radio, listening to you and Dennis and Phil and Rochester and Mary and Jack and the whole crew go through the fastest 30 minutes on radio.
It went by like wind, really, went by so rapidly.
And those programs created some 45 years ago, 40, 30 years ago, are just as funny, just as good today as they ever were.
Just as good today as the day they were originally written.
Absolutely.
No question about it. That type of comedy we no longer have. And bless the listeners' hearts for making it possible for us to succeed in it, because without the devotion of the radio listeners and subsequently the TV viewers, without that devotion that the public afforded us, we wouldn't be here today. We are indebted to the public for all the invaluable things that they did for us.
Well, the public is indebted to you and the radio people, too. But they are expressing their gratitude this week at the Mill Run Theater in Niles because they're seeing radio come to life on that revolving stage out there when the big broadcast of 1944 opens each night. And you're there with Dennis Day. And now you and Dennis do a little bit there about the Benny stuff.
We have a little badinage that's reflective of the way Dennis used to work on the show. At one point, they'd given me a very presumptuous job in that occasion, and that's I'm reading the straight lines that only Benny could do. So I hope that anybody here won't think I'm trying to imitate, because I'm not an imitator.
Well, there is no one who could imitate Don Wilson either.
Well, there's nobody that can imitate Jack Benny. Believe me, and I'm the first one to know it.
Well, you're in good health. You look very fine and fit. And when we first met, I saw you lighting up a cigarette, and I noticed it was not a Lucky Strike cigarette, and I said, Don Wilson lighting up a cigarette that's not a Lucky Strike, and you told me why.
When they quit sending them, I changed brands.
When the freebies ended, right?
Yeah. It's been a joy talking with you. Thank you very much for having me as your guest. We've gone back over things that are very vague in my memory in some respects, but are pleasant to relate and chat with you about. And I must say you have almost an inexhaustible well of information about particularly the Benny Show, and thank you for revising my, or not revising, but revitalizing